What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Shalor back again with another video. Hey, real quick, I wanted to get in here and talk about Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is back in the news. He's calling for the release of Derek Chauvin, the guy who is his claim to fame, the police officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck. Some people believe he killed him. Some people don't. Autopsy say he died of an overdose. But we'll go with he killed him. That's what he was found guilty as, and we'll just move with that. But Ben Shapiro is calling for him to be released, and he's got a petition pushing for the release of Derek Chauvin through Trump. He has a petition that he wants everybody to go to his website to go sign up to tell Trump to release him. I think Ben is being a bit of a psyop in this because it's on a state level, and he knows that Trump can't release him. I think it's just his way of muddying the waters. I don't even think he likes Trump like that, but I don't know why he would do this in the time like this, because if let's say Trump did side on him, he already has the people going against him. That he's racist this, racist that. This is the perfect time, with all of the policies he's been passing, to get people on his side who didn't normally like him, and set the future for the Republican Party up in the future. But Ben Shapiro is a Jew, right? And most Jewish people tend to be very liberal, even though Ben touts himself as a conservative. But he can be very liberal at times. Mark Dice, it's a good YouTube channel. Mark Dice, he's a conservative guy. He's breaking down Ben Shapiro, everything in this video. I think he has the best explanation, and he shows proof on why Ben is doing this. So I wanted to go ahead and play this. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire have sunk to a new low, but his ignorant audience thinks that his new campaign encouraging President Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, he's the police officer who was blamed for George Floyd's overdose. His ignorant audience is not aware of the incredible gatekeeping that the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro engages in, thinks that is a great idea, that Ben Shapiro is very brave for taking on such a controversial position. But if you understand what it is that they're actually doing, you realize that this is a new low in conservative media. Stay tuned for this because, as Paul Harvey used to say, wait until you hear the rest of the story. And subscribe to my channel if you're new here, because you're not going to get information and analysis like this anywhere else. But how could this possibly be a bad thing, you're wondering? Shouldn't Derek Chauvin be released from prison? Well, absolutely. Like I said, wait for it. He didn't just make this announcement off the top of his head. This was a planned campaign that they launched last week with an accompanying website, pardonderek.com, which we'll look at closely in a moment.
President Trump should, in fact, pardon Derek Chauvin. As I say, we will be covering this pretty extensively in the coming weeks. Right now, you should go to pardonderek.com and sign our petition asking President Trump to grant justice to Officer Derek Chauvin. That is pardon, P-A-R-D-O-N, Derek.com, P-A-R-D-O-N-D-E-R-E-K.com.
Ben Shapiro is a Harvard-educated lawyer, and he, of all people, knows that President Trump can't get Derek Chauvin out of prison because he was convicted on state murder charges.
And that's the point I was making earlier. Ben Shapiro being a lawyer, got me playing into all the stereotypes. But him being a lawyer, he knows that, you gotta see through the filth of these type of dudes. He's always been like a grifter type snake guy. I remember years ago, he was for the COVID vaccine, telling people that they were stupid if they didn't want to take it. And then when enough conservatives and enough people that, his audience went against him, he, eventually changed and shifted gears and started pulling up the science and all this other stuff to say it was bad. He's just a typical snake type of guy. And I hate his voice.
He was convicted on federal civil rights violations as well, which President Trump couldn't pardon those, but he still isn't going to get out of prison. But little Ben is giving the impression that Derek Chauvin could just be set free. He can just walk right out of prison, just like the Proud Boys, who deserve to all be set free. And again, this wasn't just a comment that he made off the top of his head. This is part of a campaign with their new website, pardonderek.com, which then leads you to the Daily Wire's website, where it has this note here, which says, "We encourage you, President Trump, to pardon Officer Derek Chauvin. Sign the petition over here." And then the fine print right there you can read says, "By clicking here, you consent to receive emails featuring news and special offers from the Daily Wire and our sponsors." So this,
I hate those damn emails and sponsors coming. That's why I give them a fake email.
this is literally nothing more than a publicity stunt for the Daily Wire to increase their email list so that they can spam people, encouraging them to become paid members for the Daily Wire Plus and to shill all of their products like their proprietary Jeremy's razors and the Daily Wire chocolate bars of a lying devil. It would be one thing if President Trump actually could get Derek Chauvin out of prison, but again, he can't. Ben knows that. If Ben Shapiro wanted to reach the president of the United States for any reason, all he would have to do is just send a text message or pick up the phone and call any of the number of senators or members of the House of Representatives whose personal cell phone number he has. Last week, he was Speaker of the House Mike Johnson's guest at the joint address to Congress. That's how well connected Ben is to the power structure. And the Daily Wire is now running this pardonderek.com scam as an ad on their shows.
Democrats are on the run, and we're going to get to just why in a moment. First, the Daily Wire continues our fight. As you know, on this show, we've been calling for the pardon of Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was railroaded.
Yes, we know that. In fact, we knew that the day that the video went public because it was clear that he was having a medical issue. But at the time, Little Ben threw Derek Chauvin under the bus, posting on Twitter that he just returned from a 2-day Jewish holiday and half the country is on fire.
You see what I'm saying? When it was popular to be on George Floyd's side or to be in the BLM camp, which at first I didn't fall for the BLM, but I did fall for the trick or the death, you know, somewhat, because it didn't look like he killed him to me, but it looked like he attributed to his death, right? But when I seen further evidence or the video, the long format, it's like, okay, he was having an episode. But Ben Shapiro, he has a habit of doing this on a lot of issues. He'll be on the left side or whatever the mainstream side is, and then he'll flip-flop or backtrack and come back to the I guess the right side or the conservative side or whatever the side that's opposed to the left at the time. He's got a bad habit of this. I don't think he's a good guy. I think he's just he's like a chameleon type of guy. But I'll let Mark Dice finish out the rest of it.
We all agree, he says, on George Floyd, which is why a bad cop is now under arrest. He went on to say that the government has one primary function: to prevent the violation of rights to life and liberty. A police officer destroyed George Floyd's rights. He did at least condemn the rioting and the looting, saying, "You're not stealing that TV to honor George Floyd or protest police brutality. You're stealing that TV because you're a POS. And yes, of course, the officers plural, in that video should be prosecuted to the full extent of their law breaking. What laws did they break, Ben? This is the same guy who condemned cartoonist Scott Adams, calling him a racist a dozen times because he simply said that he prefers to live in a white neighborhood with fellow white people.
Just to rewind for a second, Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, he said some racist stuff, which of course is indeed racist. What he said was in fact racist. You can fully acknowledge Scott Adams' racism and still also recognize that the media would be totally fine with Scott Adams' racism if it was directed in precise reverse at white people. In the United States, if you direct racism against Black Americans, that of course is verboten, it is very bad, and you'll have your career ended. And there's a strong case that ought to be the case because racism is bad.
Strong evidence.
Nobody should have their life or career ended because they say something that's opposed to Black people, Jewish people, or anything. I don't want to live around a bunch of niggas shall we say, because, hey, wherever a bunch of hoodlum type black folks are, it's death, destruction, and damnation. You know, cars sitting on blocks, it's shit all in the road, it's kids running around, Pookie and Ray Ray and them selling drugs, and people getting shot at. I'd rather live around good, wholesome black folks, but there are a good bit of communities, I'm not gonna say that, but they're not mainstream like, you know, like white communities, you know, you go live in, you don't really worry about too much violence or anything destructive. You know, you got communities in like California, maybe LA, like I think Baldwin Hills or something like that. It's a black, predominantly neighborhood. It's well-to-do and it's not crime-ridden. And places like Decatur, Georgia, or you know, or places like that, and in Atlanta, you know, where you see a lot of well-to-do, and they're good black neighborhoods a lot, you know. But we get what that guy was trying to say.
He says that Scott Adams should have had his career destroyed, which of course it was. His syndicator canceled his syndication deal, and he lost a bunch of other sponsors. And his career as one of the most popular syndicated comics in American history was destroyed, just like Ben wanted. The same Ben Shapiro who threw a hissy fit after Tucker Carlson interviewed Alex Jones on his new podcast once he became independent after getting fired from Fox News, which then ultimately led to Elon Musk finally restoring Alex's account. You may recall that I listed all the evidence of why Alex was actually banned. Elon responded to my post personally and said, this is correct, and then restored his account. That made Ben very upset.
It's hard to find less of an Alex Jones fan than I am. The sort of soft peddling of Alex Jones that Tucker Carlson did on his X show the other day, I thought was absurd. Because frankly, I don't think Alex Jones is totally worth defending as a human being.
Well, Ben, I guess that's just one of 100 things you and I disagree on. Just like I don't believe that anyone in conservative media or anyone in media or anyone anywhere should be canceled because they express sympathy for the innocent Palestinians in Gaza. In fact, the neocon position is that there are no innocent Palestinians in Gaza, period. Well, we all know what happened to Candace Owens after she started expressing sympathy for the...
And that's when I was completely done with the Daily Wire. They have a lot of good content, but mainly because Candace Owens and Matt Walsh. But Ben Shapiro and his cohorts and all those, they don't believe in free speech unless it's, you know, putting down other people, or especially Palestinians and stuff like that. But if you put down his people or tell the truth about an issue that does not paint his people in a great light, he's getting you up out of there. But I was done with them after Candace Owens.
Innocent civilians there. And then instead of admitting the now obvious unwritten rule of conservative mainstream media, thou shalt not criticize Israel for any reason whatsoever, no matter what, Ben just sat there silently when he was asked why they fired Candace.
One of the consequences of this war has been a lot of very high passions on both sides, a lot of angry disagreements. You and your company have been at the center of a very high-profile one at the moment with Candace Owens, who's now left Daily Wire. Can I ask why?
I mean, you can ask.
No, I'm not. You can ask why you don't want to say anything.
Again, you can ask.
I'm only curious because I know what a staunch defender of free speech you are, and it would surprise me if it had been someone's opinions that would make you want to part company with them. However contentious.
I mean, suffice it to say, the only thing I will say is what I've said all along with regard to Candace or with regard to any of our other hosts. I am not in hiring and firing position with the Daily Wire. I'm a co-founder of the Daily Wire.
So he had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Surely he wouldn't have an informal conversation with his best friend and his co-founder and the CEO of the company, Jeremy Boring, about his concerns of Candace's commentary. Would you like to show us any more of your blatant hypocrisy, Ben?
They say that I want America to fight wars for Israel. Nope. First of all, Israel can take care of herself.
A few moments later.
If Israel is forced to the wall, the possibility of nuclear exchange is extremely high. That is why it is very important that the United States provide the material aid to Israel
See?
And that they also dissuade Hezbollah from getting in. It's why Joe Biden has been warning Hezbollah not to get in. That's what's happening right now.
After Palantir, the Orwellian tech company, announced that they were going to be hiring 180 Jews from college campuses who need a safe space because they got their feelings hurt because of the anti-war protesters, Ben Shapiro responded to that post saying that he loves this. What he doesn't love, however, is people questioning the motives and the tactics of his beloved state of Israel.
And you're just asking questions. You don't know, right? This is the game that is played by so many corrupt commentators. Just asking questions. I don't have to show you evidence that something terrible is happening. I don't have to actually demonstrate how the thing is happening. I don't have to tell you who the problem is. Wink, wink. But I can just tell you right now that there is a problem. But even, and if I'm asked about it, hey, I'm just asking questions. Now, let me tell you something about just asking questions for a second.
But first, a word from our sponsor. Go to pardonderek.com and give us your email.
And you see, you don't want the criticism on his own people if they do anything. But he'll point the finger and he's just a flip-flopper, and he'll use any situation to get some type of gain. Just like he's using the Derek Chauvin. He wants people to go to that website to buy, or to subscribe, have subscriptions and get that newsletter from him because they're hurting, since Candace left. And it sounds like Matt Walsh is out the door pretty soon. And I don't know who else is on the Daily Wire. Some little flunkies on there. I think that it's a white girl that used to be on there that was pretty cool too. I didn't keep up with it, but I have seen. I can't think of her name. Y'all let me know in the comment section if you know what I'm talking about. But there ain't nobody else on there. He's just trying to stay relevant to get people to come to that site.
Email address so that we can shill to you some of Jeremy's razors and Daily Wire chocolate bars. Ben doesn't like people asking questions about some of the negative side effects about our foreign policy regarding Israel, which Osama bin Laden addressed in his manifesto, the letter to the American people, where he specifically said the reason why Al-Qaeda attacked us on 9/11 is because of America's involvement in the Middle East, particularly meddling in certain conflicts, which we have no business being in, backing Ben Shapiro's favorite little country over there. He certainly doesn't want you to start asking questions about things like the clean break memo or the Levon affair. And also last week, the Daily Wire CEO Jeremy Boring posted this very ominous and disturbing message on Twitter saying, yesterday was a terrible day for American Jews. The embrace by so many prominent voices of demented, conspiratorial, anti-Jewish voices is one of the saddest, most alarming events in my lifetime, he says. Well, my gosh, what just happened? Oh, Joe Rogan had a guest on his podcast, the guy who recently blew up on TikTok by asking those uncomfortable questions that Ben Shapiro doesn't want allowed. And Candace Owens appeared on Theo Vaughn's podcast, very popular podcast, also raising some concern, our entanglements with foreign country.
Well, why do you think there's such a strong relationship between the two countries then?
Blackmail. I think blackmail. And I think this is the reason why we don't get to open the Epstein files, we don't get to open the JFK files. And I think it's a form of gaslighting us to pretend that our special friend and ally isn't just and by the way,
the NSA documents that Edward Snowden leaked over 10 years ago reveal that our intelligence agencies consider our greatest ally to actually be a top spy threat. I mean, what's next? Is Ben Shapiro going to say that the only reason he's loyal to the United States is because our country is such a huge backer of Israel? Oh, wait, what's this?
Wonder if one day you will have to flee the United States?
I mean, I think that every Jew throughout world history who has a brain and knows history has always wondered if a country that is not a Jewish state is going to eternally provide them security guarantees and full citizenship, of course. I mean, that's I think to think that that's why the existence of the state of Israel is the single greatest guarantor of my loyalty to the United States, frankly, right? Because Israel exists, that means the United States is going to be a more welcoming place for me because Israel is there as a backstop in case anything should go wrong.
And in case you didn't know, Jeremy Boring was the head of a conservative secret society in Hollywood called the Friends of Abe, which was started by Gary Sinise. Secret societies often have kind of a sinister reputation, but some of them are actually good. And this one was good. It operated as the conservative, cultural base and networking group in Hollywood. And then as soon as Jeremy Boring took it over as the director, he shut it down.
All right, guys. That's all I got for this one. Man, y'all let me know what y'all think. Is Ben Shapiro a flip-flopper? Is he pushing for the release of Derek Chauvin just to get people to come to his site, to sabotage Trump, or is he switching to the liberal side? Because his takes are awful. I mean, he's gotten worse in the last year or so since this October 7th and, that attack on Israel and Candace Owens speaking out against Israel. Y'all let me know in the comment section. I'll get back to y'all on another one. Peace.